All right, today we're going to explore a truly powerful story of faith, sacrifice, and a miracle that, believe it or not, continues to this day. This is the parable of the vessel and the living water. So I want you to picture the scene. We're in a Roman province, and there's this feeling in the air, a kind of deep spiritual thirst. People are searching for something more, something meaningful in a world that feels rigid and controlled. And it's this collective yearning that really sets the stage for everything. And this really lays out the central conflict, doesn't it? On one side, you have the massive, unmoving cisterns of Roman authority. It's all about power, control, and keeping things just as they are. But on the other side, you've got this small, bubbling spring of faith. It's new, it's alive, and it offers something that people are absolutely desperate for. So who's at the heart of this new spring? It's a young bishop named Genarius. And here's the key metaphor for understanding him. He's a vessel, but not some fancy golden chalice, no. Think of him as a simple, humble earthen jar, one that was shaped and made strong not by wealth, but by his service to others. Well, as you can imagine, an empire doesn't exactly love competition. An official edict comes down from the very top, from the emperor himself. The command? Shut down all these springs of faith. The authorities are ordered to stamp this movement out, and a collision course is set. So what does Januarius do? Does he run? Does he go into hiding? Not a chance. When his friends are thrown in prison, he sees it not as a threat, but as a calling. He walks right into the lion's den, bringing what the story calls his living water, his faith and comfort, into the darkest places of captivity. You can probably guess what happens next. An act that bold, that defiant, it's a direct challenge to Roman power. And it just could not be ignored. So they seized him. He was arrested and hauled before the court to answer for what he'd done. And when they demand he renounce his faith, this is his answer. It's incredible. He says, "I am but a vessel. The water is not mine to deny." He's essentially saying, look, this isn't about me. I'm just the container for something so much bigger, and it's my duty to share it. Well, that response did not go over well. The Romans are infuriated, so they decide, all right, let's put this vessel to the test. Let's see how strong it really is. They come up with two trials. First, a blazing furnace, and then the wild beasts of the Colosseum. So they throw him into the furnace, fully expecting him to crack, to melt, to be utterly consumed. But something completely unexpected happens. The intense heat doesn't destroy him. It actually has the opposite effect. It glazes the clay, hardening his vessel, making it even stronger and more resilient than before. Okay, so the furnace failed. What's next? They throw him into the arena with starving wild animals. This has to be the end, right? But the beasts, they don't attack. Instead, they grow calm, and they actually kneel at his feet. They absolutely refuse to tear the vessel apart. So now the Roman authorities have a serious problem. Their usual methods of destruction, fire, and brute force have completely failed. The vessel has proven to be, for all intents and purposes, unbreakable. So what do? If you can't melt it and you can't tear it apart, what's your last resort? Their solution is as brutal as it is simple. If you can't break its integrity, just smash it. It's an act of pure force, really an admission that they could not break his spirit, only his body. And so that's what they do. They take him to a hillside, the sentence is carried out, and the vessel is shattered. The living water that he spoke of, his very lifeblood, spills out onto the dry earth. But the story is far from over. A new figure emerges, a wise woman named Eusebia. She witnesses this, and she understands something profound. Just because the container is shattered doesn't mean what was inside is lost. A broken vessel can still hold a secret memory. And she preserves that memory in a very specific, very important way. It all comes down to this number, 2. Eusebia takes 2 small glass vials or ampoules, and she carefully collects the blood of Januarius from the ground. With this simple, compassionate act, she manages to preserve the last physical remnant of that living spring. And that physical remnant came to be known as the sacred memory. Over the years, the congealed blood stopped being just a sign of a violent death. It transformed into something more, a symbol of his sacrifice, and ultimately a promise of hope for the people. And you can really see how this legacy unfolds over time. First, you have the martyrdom, the moment the vessel is shattered. Then you have the preservation, the moment the living water is saved. And this leads to an amazing third stage, an annual event where the spring stirs all over again. Because this is the incredible part. It's not just an ancient legend. It's said that to this very day, every year, when the people of Naples gather together and pray with that same kind of spiritual thirst from centuries ago, something happens. The spring inside those old vials stirs to life. And this is how the parable is fulfilled. The congealed blood, that living water that was solidified by his death, it miraculously liquefies. It flows freely once again, becoming this tangible, living connection to the unbreakable spirit of that first vessel. So what's the ultimate lesson here? It's this incredibly powerful message of hope. It tells us that something being broken isn't always the end. In fact, sometimes a shattered vessel is exactly what's needed to keep giving hope to a community that needs its eternal spring. And that's the final thought I really want to leave you with. It's the paradox right at the heart of this entire story, and so many others like it. How can something that's been broken, something shattered, continue to be a source of life? It's a pretty powerful question to think about.